Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Carlos and you're watching Let's Rewind with Carlos. Today's topic we're going to cover is going to be JFK. JFK is one of those topics that really nobody knows what really happened. Some people said it was Cuba, some people said it was the CIA, some people said it was the mob, some people say it was because he was cheating on his wife with Marilyn Monroe. Nobody really knows, nobody really has the answers to know what happened to JFK that day in Dallas. I got a couple videos for you guys to see if maybe we can come up with some answers, or maybe we're just gonna have more questions. But like I said, this was something that I really wanted to cover. It's one of those topics that really nobody knows what really happened. So without further ado, let's rewind.
Are some morbid facts about President JFK. When John F. Kennedy was assassinated,
Hmm.
he was wearing a corset to help with his chronic back pain. Experts say it likely restricted his body and prevented him from ducking down after the first shot. The car in which JFK was assassinated was cleaned up and repurposed back into rotation. It served as the presidential limo for Johnson, Nixon, Ford, and Carter following JFK's death. In 1966, Kennedy's brain was stolen from the National Archives and has been missing ever
How do you
since.
steal a brain?
Many theorize that it was stolen
Oh,
to
that's
hide the
weird.
truth about his murder.
How do you
Immediately
steal a
after
brain?
JFK was killed, his wife Jackie had to be present when Vice President LBJ was sworn in.
Hmm.
She refused to
So
change
they
out of the
didn't give her any
blood-stained
time,
pink
huh? They
suit
just
she
said,
wore
"Hey,
that
look."
day, saying, "I want them to see what they've done to John." While standing next to Jackie, LBJ turned to his friend Albert Thomas and
That's a little
smiled,
creepy.
while Thomas smirked and winked back. The White House
So
photographer
you
who
think
took this
they
photograph
were in
has
it?
called it
I don't
completely
know.
sinister.
Good evening, my fellow citizens. What you're about to see changes the way we look at life itself, from religion to spirituality to the very fabric of existence. Those behind the scenes have made it abundantly
All
clear
right.
that I am not to bring this to the American public. But this is of too grave importance for us to allow those in power to conceal it. I risk my own
So he
safety
knew? Maybe they were
and the
on him?
safety of my family to bring this to you. Remember this day.
Okay, I don't know about this one. I mean, hey, trust me, we're gonna probably cover this later on, but I don't know about this one. What do you guys think? Aliens? I don't know.
Our two nations have been blessed with the same blessing of liberty. We now dream the same
Okay.
dream of opportunity in the future. And our two
Look
continuing
at the little kid. He
revolutions
probably is like, who's this guy?
have now been joined as
It's crazy
one.
how you see how they used to dress back in
One
those
great
days. I mean,
effort
even though it wasn't that
in
long
one
ago,
great
you could
concert,
just tell like the vibe
one
is
great
way
alianza
different
parallel
than.
progresso. Viva Mexico.
So he went to Mexico.
Wound on his neck, which completely contradicts the US government's one-shooter narrative from the time. In Paramount Plus's new documentary, JFK, What the Doctors Saw, these 7 physicians who treated President John F. Kennedy after his assassination revealed the condition of his
Okay.
body. The documentary uses archival footage of various Dallas nurses, autopsy techs, and photographers who all reported seeing a wound in the president's neck and a gaping wound on the back of his head when he was brought into the hospital to support the new claims. It also shows the doctor's reactions to the government-released photos of
Yeah, that's
JFK's
weird.
body after
Yeah, because
he
you could
was
tell in the
transported to
video
DC, which showed him
his
without
scalp,
the gaping wound.
his scalp was
Despite the
basically
discrepancies, the
gone. Like
doctors
the whole
remained
side of it
silent.
was pretty
Medical
much
resident Joe Goldstridge
gone.
said, "I didn't want to be a target for those that had killed our president, so I didn't tell anybody for over 30 years." The film explores the chaotic
30
emergency
years.
room scene with
So he
assistant
was
professor of
afraid to
surgery
share some
Robert
info.
McClelland and chief of medicine Donald Selden. Quote, "The Secret Service with their machine guns looking around frantically, the president lying on a surgical bed with Mrs. Kennedy sitting by with flanks of the president's brain on her skirt," Selden said of the atmosphere that day. Another resident said, "Jackie Kennedy had this pink suit on, and I wondered why she wore a pink suit with
I know,
red
just
gloves."
imagine
Of
like
course, looking a little closer,
all the
you could see that
blood
the
and
red
all that
gloves were
splattered
actually
everywhere
blood,
right there
and it
next
was
to
on
him.
her hands.
It's just
"I remember there was no
crazy.
expression. There was no movement of his face," said another. "His eyes were open, and it was an impressive view that I'll never forget because he was my hero. It was a very sad situation." The doctor's observations, if disclosed, would have suggested a conspiracy challenging the lone gunman theory. My initial impression seeing 2 wounds was, well, there was a small wound here, a big wound back here, Said Dr. Ronald Jones, chief resident of Parkland Hospital. We thought there was an entrance wound in the neck and an exit wound in the back of the head. Following Lee Harvey Oswald's arrest, the widely accepted public narrative of Kennedy's death was a single-shot incident from behind. However, if the doctor's assertion of the throat wound being an entrance wound is accurate, Dr. McClellan concludes
that's where it
that
comes
the
in,
only
where everybody
logical
thinks it was
outcome
multiple
is a
shooters.
probable
It's because of the
conspiracy
way the
involving
angles
more
of the
than
bullets
one
and stuff.
shooter.
Find one that we disagree on. I think you believe the official story of the JFK assassination, do you?
More or less, yeah.
More or less.
Yeah.
My belief, and this changes over time, I think that Lee Harvey Oswald was in on it. I think he was a part of it, but I think there were multiple people that were in on it. That's what I believe.
You think there are multiple shooters?
Yes. And one of the reasons why I believe that is because of the formation of the single bullet theory. And the single bullet theory was formed because the fact that they had to account for one bullet that hit the underpass, ricocheted off, and put some man in the hospital. And that before that, they did not have an explanation for why all of these bullet holes, all these wounds were in all these different people's bodies. The other reason why I'm
so multiple people got shot that day. I didn't even know that.
They found that bullet on Connolly's gurney when they brought him into the hospital. It's too convenient, and the bullet itself is fairly pristine.
Yeah, that bullet's way too pristine.
I'm convinced, and no one will ever convince me any differently, that the shots came from the area of the picket fence on the grassy knoll. No one will ever convince me. I saw it. I believe that's where it came from. And the only way that I'm ever going to believe any different is when I stand before the judge on the judgment day and he tells me. But I know what I saw, and that's what I saw.
Major Phil Willis, with his wife and daughter, was also in Dealey Plaza. He is certain that the fatal headshot came from the grassy knoll.
Hell, I'll tell you, 90% of the people in Dallas, Texas, and probably the United States have heard all this over, have since decided that, as well as the second investigation held in the House of Representatives in Washington.
What he said?
And,
hey.
And no one will ever convince me. I know damn well a shot that blew his head off came from the right front.
And it always seemed to me
that's what it looks like. Everybody keeps saying from the back.
On the part of the driver, they were only yards from what at least I perceived to be safety by getting on the expressway. But the car seemed to it didn't move. After that first shot, it just didn't move. And the thing that is over the years,
so she feels like the car might have slowed down after the first shot.
The feeling that did that first shot miss, as I felt it had, if it did miss, had that car speeded up, would he be alive today?
Even now,
so it's, I guess she's kind of like saying they missed the first shot, so to slow down so way the second shot could hit him.
Shot, seeing his head blow up, I can see it just as plain. It's red. It's very brilliant. It's cone shaped. Going back.
Gee.
That's my impression. Sad.
Imagine you go there for the parade and you just want to see the president in person, and then all of a sudden all that chaos just unfolds. Crazy.
That and the sadness of the assassination, that'll be forever in my memory. Very sad, very traumatic.
Went over on another knoll over the other side of Dealey Plaza and just lay down on the grass and vomited, and I was just sick. And then when we took my film out to Kodak out near Love Field and saw Air Force One taking off, and I was listening to it on the radio, it was hard to believe it was true.
Weird facts about JFK that I bet you didn't know. JFK and Jackie Kennedy had 4 children. In 1956, Jackie gave birth to a stillborn baby named Arabella. And their son, Patrick Bouvier Kennedy, was born 5 weeks early and died 2 days later. Kennedy was sick his entire life, and 3 different times in his life he was given his last rites. JFK was medically disqualified from being enlisted in the Army. He donated his congressional and presidential salary to charity. Kennedy installed a secret taping system in the Oval Office. Kennedy proposed a joint Soviet mission to the moon. There were rumors that he was considering dropping Lyndon B.
Moon landing. That's another thing we may have to cover.
Kennedy was terrified of running for re-election against Mitt Romney's dad, George Romney. And JFK had many mistresses. And he said that if he wasn't busy with somebody every single day, he would get a migraine.
He was on
More
that Blue
weird
Chew
facts
back
about
in that
JFK
day.
that
We
I
didn't
bet
even
you
know
didn't know.
that
JFK could
existed.
not pass a proper exam, but he did fake his way into the Navy, and his dad, Joseph Kennedy, helped him become a naval officer. He then became a war hero. He was the only president to ever receive a Purple Heart. JFK also won a Pulitzer Prize for his book, Profiles in Courage. At one point in his life, he got into a fender bender with Larry King. JFK was the last president to wear a top hat to his inauguration. JFK was the second wealthiest president ever, second to Donald Trump. JFK was the first to donate all of his salary to charity. He was a James Bond fanatic, and the day before signing the Cuban embargo, he ended up buying lots of cigars. He recorded over 260 private conversations from the White House Oval Office. There actually had been 4 assassination attempts on his life. His last words were, "No, you certainly can't."
He wanted to hear what everybody was talking about, I guess.
You certainly can't say that the people of Dallas haven't given you a nice
paranoid.
JFK, when he died, his wife went and got remarried to a Greek billionaire. His name was Onassis. He was a freight magnate, cargo ships. And he said all the money in the world wouldn't matter if there was no women.
That's 1,000%
That's what he said.
They didn't just kill him, Joey. For sure, someone in the CIA had something to do with it because of Jolly
Joe
West's
Rogan and Joey
involvement.
Diaz. You know, it's a good
From
episode.
that moment on, Jack Ruby lost his fucking mind. I think they just dosed that guy into a fucking coma, and then after they dosed him into a coma, they gave him cancer.
It's all connected.
And the idea that no one was involved in that assassination other than Lee Harvey Oswald, that doesn't make any sense.
Too big of a
Bro.
plan, I feel like, for one person to be involved.
Yeah, I think he was a patsy.
It goes to when they shot Kennedy. What they saw, like in Chicago, how they knew for sure it was the mob and the CIA that killed Kennedy. They talked about how when Malcolm X was going to meet, I didn't know about this. He was going to do a speech at the United Nations with Che Guevara. Malcolm X. Really?
Welcome back. I appreciate you watching this video. But what do you guys think? I mean, this is one of those videos that after kind of going through it, I have more questions than answers now. We just don't know what really happened that day. But write down in the comment section, let me know what y'all think about what happened with JFK. Who do you think did it? Do you think it was the CIA? Do you think it was Cuba? Do you think it was the mob? Or do you just believe whatever you read on the books or watching the documentaries? Like I said, everybody has their own theory. Everybody has their own version of the story, it seems like. But I'd be interested to kind of see and look at what you guys think. And also just let me know what else you would like me to cover. There's a lot of topics that I'm interested in, but I also want to get some feedback to see what y'all will be interested in watching. Like I said, thank you very much for watching this video. Like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you in the next one.